Buy $220,000 in cash flow for $125,000. Get a loan from the SBA with 10% down and buy this home community-based services business in Houston, Texas. The purchase price is $1,250,000. The down payment is about $125,000 and you'll take on $1,125,000 worth of debt. Now make sure you can pay the debt from the cash flow. The debt payments are about $17,000 a month. You'll have $15,000 left over after debt payments for the year. So increase the down payment to have more margin, because that's honestly not a lot. Identify the potential red flags. There's low margin and healthcare workers can go anywhere to get a job. Why this company? Next, identify the strengths. You get business from government contracts. Go to your team to underwrite, your accountant, lawyer, equity partner, and maybe a due diligence company. Buy this business and watch the cash flow roll in as you lock in more contracts. So you're about to buy this company, you're about to lock in more contracts. You have to ask yourself a few questions. And when I was going through the due diligence, I go to Biz Buy Sell, I find these businesses and I'm like, okay, what would I tweak? What would I look into based on, outside of the financials, obviously? Like, you're going to take a deep look at the financials. You really want to understand the business from the owner's perspective, understand the owner's story as well, why they started the business, how they grew it, what type of culture they made, why they're exiting, all that good stuff. But some questions I wanted to ask specifically about this business: how can you attract quality healthcare workers? That's the first question in my head, because to be frank, I like to be frank. It's like to be Sally, to be, why is it Frank? Anyway, to be transparent, healthcare workers can go anywhere. They can be travel nurses. They could be, working in a hospital. They could be a ton of things, working in ER, working their own kind of practice. Why would a healthcare worker, and obviously nurses aren't going to have their own practice, but why would a healthcare worker work with your company? And this wasn't clear from earlier, but this company is really a home services company that takes care of special needs adults. So when you're attracting quality healthcare workers, you really want high quality people that care a lot, because they're going to be showing up. The job's not going to be easy. Adults that have special needs can be difficult to deal with, and for some people can be dangerous. And so it's important that you have quality healthcare workers that care. The question is, how do you attract them? How do you screen for them? And what type of company culture, work experience, and pay range do you create to keep them there? And what type of mental health stuff do you have for them to make sure that they're not burning out? Because it's easy to burn out after dealing with stressful situations that you can't control every day at work. So when you're thinking about attracting quality healthcare workers, my first question is how, and specifically why this business. Yes, they probably care about adults with special needs, which means they probably have family members that have special needs. But also they need to have a high tolerance to stress, and then you need to pay them well. And so how can you increase the margins of the business to pay them well? This was my second question. Not just to pay them well, but to pay yourself well as well. How do you increase the margins? Some of the first questions I think of is staff being paid too much? Are we not going high ticket enough? Are we not, these are government contracts, so is there a private sector where you can charge a little bit higher, provide a much more of a service to take some of the burden, or at least not take some of the burden, but make the burden more worth it by paying your people more? Can you have more people on staff that work less hours and still have them at a livable wage so they're not super stressed? What support can you have? But that's not really increasing margins. To increase margins, you either have to decrease expenses or increase income. So my first thought, go to the private sector, increase income by charging a lot more money. If you're stuck with government contracts and you can't really increase income, get way bigger government contracts and do some subcontracting work. You could do that for sure. You would be taking care of your people, but maybe not the people of the subcontractors. Get those government contracts, or decrease the amount of time your people have to work by putting in systems, implementing some technology, if that is possible. But either decrease those expenses, and I'm sure your biggest expense is payroll here, or increase that income by going private. So decrease hours employees work, increase income by going private. That's how I would think about increasing the margins. And as I got into the due diligence, I would ask some people who owned businesses like this and the owner how they would increase margins, or is this business at a typical margin for this business type? The next question, talk about increasing income. Is there any room for a subscription side of the business that requires lower manpower? So again, this is decreasing hourly time that the employees have to work and increasing income by having it be recurring revenue. I don't know what this subscription service could look like, but maybe we're taking a specific person with a specific special need. We serve adults with a specific special need, and we're helping them, achieve their goals in life. So like there are some Down syndrome people who own businesses. My brother has Down syndrome and he's barely functioning. Could we work with people like my brother to get them to a spot where they could actually own a business? Like that would be really cool. And we would pay a subscription fee for that. And could that be, like my brother right now, he's in a group home for adults with special needs. And it's like, if there's a subscription thing where it's like, yes, there's the group home, but you upcharge on some services where it's like, it's really one-on-one attention, training, and growth for personal development. I'm a personal development junkie almost. And so like that really speaks to me a lot, but it's just like, man, I would love for my brother to get the attention that we couldn't give him growing up. And frankly, I would pay any amount of money for it if I had. And so I think that's really, is there room for a subscription service? Like he's already in a home, so it's monthly in the terms of rent. So maybe because I'm thinking of sober living, I'm also thinking of this business model, but it's like you get a house specifically for specific adults with a specific special need where we are working with them one-on-one to get them to a spot where, they can do what they're trying to do. So it'd be lower manpower because it can be like a house manager vibe. Maybe their special need isn't as severe, and so they don't need one-on-one attention all the time. They can kind of self-manage. And so we take them from the kind of self-managed space to the thriving interdependence stage where they can serve the community and, having gainful employment or running a business or whatever it may be. So those are some of the things that I kind of think about when I think of the subscription side of the business. Rent is a great way, but enhanced rent by providing services along with that is also a great way. Plus lower manpower because you can have somebody live in, or you can have several hourly nurses that just come check throughout their days, and there you have it. The next question I have is, how easy is it to secure government contracts for the space and for this company specifically? And I have no clue. That is literally something I'd have to find out in the due diligence side of things, but I think it said that there are government contracts specifically for this industry, specifically for small businesses. So it sounds like it might be pretty easy, but I would need a gauge of the competition, where my revenue can get to just from government contracts, and what's the process for government contracts. Do I need somebody on staff to handle that? I would need all of that taken care of, and I do not know the answers at all. Did no research at all on the government contract space, but I heard it can be very lucrative. Some of the wealthiest companies get government contracts, and those are some of the biggest contracts they get. So that's what we got for you guys today on the show. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And remember, we are a community of people judged not by our wealth, but by our impact.